Well, hello, it's Brian here, and today I'm going to share the 10 albums that I listen to the most, probably, that I come back to in rotation. These aren't necessarily the best, but some of them are some of my top 10s, but, well, I'm going to share. There's a couple that are jazz adjacent, or specifically weather report adjacent. So I'm not very diverse with my musical tastes, but I'm just going to point out that I did try to be diverse as well, but it's not very diverse either. So with that, I'll start. This is one of the albums, a Joni Mitchell album from 1976, Raja. I don't know if I'm saying that right. But it's a great album that I like to start a lot, and it's something I like to come back to a lot. This is one of the jazz adjacent albums, though it's a singer-songwriter album, but the textures are kind of jazzy. And Coyote, Furry Sings the Blues, Blue Motel Room are some of my favorite songs from it. Definitely a great album. Joni Mitchell has great lyrics and cool textures on that album in particular. My next choice is a side project, actually. This is a side project between Tommy Keane and Robert Pollard from Guided by Voices on vocals. This is Keane Brothers, Blues and Boogie Shoes. This is a very great power poppy album. Cool melodic guitar textures and Bob Pollard's vocal stylings over it. And it's got a really cool side too as well. When it goes on the record player, it looks like a hula hoop is going around. It's so simple, and the coolest thing I have that's actually on the LP label, so that's another reason why this is a great album. And the next one I have is Spoon, Girls Can Tell. They're kind of comeback album in a way to indie, at least after being courted by a major label. This is a classic, very stylish and nice record. A little singer-songwritery, but still rock and roll. One of my faves, for sure. The next one I have is Superchunks. Here's Where the Strings Come In. I love Superchunk. This album I choose because it's still the original Superchunk style, but it's a little mellowed out and a little slower and a little tired, so it's interesting. And there's some textures on it that are a little more expansive and interesting. And this is a great album. I come back to it a lot, and it's something I will come back to just kind of like, I just want to play something. I'm going to definitely play this. Probably something I'll put on when I'm kind of drunk as well, very easily, and make stories of on Facebook. And my next one is Pavement's Brighten the Corners. This is basically the last true Pavement album in a way, as a band effort, so this is a strong album. It's just a very consistent, cohesive listen. I just really love it a lot. This is definitely one of my favorite albums in general, but this is on my list for sure. It ends kind of in a slow ballad way as well. And there's just a nice kind of like thing. There's the minor tracks on here, but they're still pretty strong and they work well within the album. So this is just one of my favorite albums in general. Lock my records down. And the next one is Bob Dylan, John Wesley Harding. This is my favorite Dylan album. It's a little more laid back, stripped down, and it's a good album. It's pretty humble and good melodies, and just one of my faves for sure. And the next one is a hipster favorite, the Fleetwood Mac album I go to the most, Tusk, the double album. There's a classic kind of soft pop hits, or kind of the texture of them, maybe not as good, but with a lot of really messed up experiments and ecstatic performances. Just really bizarre stuff from Lindsey Buckingham. It was a lot of fun and just kind of dumb, but really cool and intense. I love this album, and this is definitely one I come back to a lot. I do like to go back to Tangle in the Night as well, but this is definitely number one for me, for Fleetwood Mac. And the next one I have is Genesis 3 Sides Live, and there's a fourth side as well, which is a the fourth side is a studio side with outtakes, maybe B-sides, but also an EP that was not released in the US with 3 really good tracks. They almost sound like the Byrds on those tracks, so that's interesting to me at least. And the live album on here the tracks are really cool from this era. They're still firmly in their art rock kind of phase. Not necessarily like they're prog, but it's kind of like a more artsy rock, textured, kind of like you look at like Duke or Abacav. Kind of, if you think of those albums, that's kind of what the music is like. Even though those are 2 of the least desirable covers, they do have a kind of look about them. And I just really come back to this one a lot. And Genesis is great. And I forgot what was next. The Promise Ring, very emergency, very good local power pop from an emo thing. But there's not much emo left on this album, but maybe a little bit. But the ballads are actually ballads, and it doesn't really, emo doesn't really, it's just not in all the songs. It's only in the ballads and maybe some of the guitar parts at times. And this is probably my favorite drum album. It's the album that kind of got me into drums, to think about them, just because of the way they're performed. It just really sticks out and it's interesting. Just have a lot of love for this album. Literally was 17 when I bought this, and this is the same copy. And my last album is Ecstasy's English Settlement, another double album. This is something I come back to a lot with its atmospheres and also kind of rock energy in a way that's still there from the original band. And there's a lot of varied styles on it as well. Just love English Settlement and Ecstasy. Those are my 10 albums I listen to the most. Thank you for watching. O'Brien, take care.